the good and forbid the evil. Stay near to the clear and far away if it's unknown. It's based on knowledge, gentleness, and patience. Let's work on doing things together to the next level. Enjoying the good and forbid the evil. Stay near to the clear and far away if it's unknown. It's based on knowledge, gentleness, and patience. Let's work on doing things together to the next level.
Ina alhamdulillah, wassalat, wassalamallah, wa rasulallah. Let me make sure that everybody can hear me. I know there's... Okay, good, it works. Okay, I know there was a little lag. I want to make sure that I didn't start the class and people couldn't hear. Okay, I want to welcome everybody to my new series entitled Enjoining the Good and Forbidding the Evil. And this is a series that I'm doing because, alhamdulillah, here at Sunnahfollowers, it's very, there's a lot of information about Islam that we're pumping out here at Sunnahfollowers. Literally, it's so much that is so overwhelming for me, to be the one managing and putting it all out there. So with all this knowledge of the religion that you guys are receiving, alhamdulillah, for most of you, I hope, that your fitra has been ignited or awakened within your heart. And as a result, the religion is becoming easier for you to understand. Inshallah, I'm hoping that you are beginning to realize that Allah did indeed perfect this religion for us. He completed this religion. He perfected it for us. Everything that he told us that is lawful because it's good and clean. And everything that Allah told us is not lawful because it's bad and dirty. And I really hope that everybody is able to recognize that now with all the different classes, the simplicity of Islam, how Islam appeals to the natural disposition of man. That's what the fitra is. The fitra is the natural disposition of the human. It's just so clear. It's just so clear, like we talked about yesterday, when it comes to when the non-Muslims approach you and ask you about your religion. They ask you, what do we believe in? And when you break down what we believe in, 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you, wow, you're not that much different from us. The same thing that King Negus, by the way, that's the same thing that King Negus told the Muslims, when Jafar was the prophet's uncle. He was the one that told the king what we believe about Jesus, what we believe about Mary. And when he recited those verses of the Quran, that's when King Negus said, the difference between us is no greater than this line. Okay? So most of the people of the book, because remember, every prophet came with the same message. And that message was to worship Allah alone and to obey him and to obey the messenger. That's the message that Abraham came with. Abraham did not come with a different religion. Let me talk about that for a minute, because this is a misunderstanding that many uneducated Muslims have today. This Abrahamic faith. There's no such thing as the Abrahamic faith. There is no religion called that religion of Abraham. Prophet Ibrahim, as Allah says in the Quran, he was a Muslim. He believed La ilaha illallah. He called the people to the same thing that Moses called them to the same thing that Jesus called them to the same thing that Noah called them to, that Jonah called them to, that David, Solomon, Adam called them to. There's no religion. Abraham, alayhi salam, he did not have a separate religion. This is why I tell you guys, you will never understand the Quran. You will never understand the Quran. You will never understand what Allah is saying in that Quran until you learn the meaning of it from the hadiths. When Allah says that the Abrahamic faith, He's not saying that he had a different religion. What he means in that verse is that Abraham was upon something that the rest of the people were not upon. His people were not upon La ilaha illallah. They were upon shirk. He called them to his belief system. And his belief system was La ilaha illallah. Does everybody understand that verse now? So I want you Muslims to not get it twisted. That's my new phrase. There's two phrases on the internet. If you type it in the internet, it pops up with my name. Let's talk about it is one, and don't get it twisted is the other. Well, hashtag don't get it twisted. And hashtag let's talk about it. Okay? Don't get it twisted, Muslims. Abraham was not upon a different belief system than the Prophet Muhammad or any other prophet. Y'all better learn the meaning of those hadiths, and you're not going to learn them unless you find a bona fide, qualified teacher that can sit down one-on-one with you and tell you the history of this religion from the beginning to the end. Okay? Don't get it twisted. So, subhanallah, guys, you know, we are upon this era in our lives where Islam is strange. Islam has become distorted, not because it's changed, not because Allah made a mistake, not because the Prophet Muhammad called to something different than Abraham. It's twisted because the Muslims today don't have the understanding of Islam, and they don't have the belief in Allah that those originals had. It's all about the originals. Okay? The originals are everything. So for those of you who have been coming here learning this religion from me, and you've been participating in all the lectures put out by Sheikh Saud, the lectures put out by Dr. Jamali, Dr. Ali, and Dr. Asim, and now we have a new brother who's joined us, you know, Dr. McBridge, and we got Mukhtar, and we got Brother Hanif. We're all trying to call you back to Islam in its truthfulness. What is Islam in its truthfulness? Islam in its truthfulness is with the understanding that those original companions had. So this is a lot of knowledge that we're putting out into the digital world. So a lot of you who are seeking the truth, Allah has guided you to it. So the fitra, your natural disposition has been awakened, reawakened. And you want to take this knowledge that you have gained here from me, from Jamali, from Sheikh Saud, you know, from Dr. Asim, from Dr. Ali, from Brother Mukhtar, from Brother Hanif. You want to take this knowledge that you've gained from us, and you want to share it with others. But this is where the problem begins. Because just as we Muslims are feeble-minded, like the Prophet said we would be, he said the later generations of my nation will be feeble-minded. They will be ignorant of the religion, and they will be very feeble-minded and weak. That's us. Because we are at that state, we also don't know how to share the good news. And that's what we're going to speak about today, because it's an obligation upon each and every one of us as a Muslim to enjoin what's good and forbid what's evil. But as we talked about last week, that doesn't mean that I have to set up a table at the mall and make flyers about Islam and pass them out to the people and run up to the people, knocking on their doors and going to their cars, putting pamphlets on like a lot of y'all are doing. You people are nothing but Bible thumpers. But now they calling us Quran thumpers. You trying to sell your religion and force your way of life on others, just like the Christians do, like the LDS do, like the Latter Day Saints, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, Seventh-day Adventists. You're nothing but just like the Christians. That's not Islam. We are only obligated to share this religion with those who come seeking it. That's the difference. Remember, wala wal bara. What is it that differentiates us from the people of the book? What is it that makes me different from the Christians? What is it that makes us different from the Jews? Our allegiance and our disassociation. We disassociate from that behavior that contradicts what the Prophet Muhammad taught us to do. He didn't teach us to go around setting up tables and passing out books and Bibles like y'all doing. We don't do that. You do that, but that's not how the companions rolled. We only do that to people who come seeking it. Because what is it that also differentiates us from the non-believers is the fact that we believe in the power of Allah. We know that only Allah has the power to change the heart of man. We know that only Allah makes Muslims, not you or me. We don't have that power. But the problem is most Muslims today are not upon Quran wa Sunnah, even though they claim to be. Most Muslims today are not upon traditional Islam, although they claim to be. Most Muslims today do not, I repeat again, do not have the understanding of this religion that those companions had, even though they claim to be. Most Muslims today are Mu'tazila. I keep telling y'all that. Mu'tazila, and I'm going to prove it to you again with my lecture tonight. Okay, so this is the class on enjoining the good. Yes, enjoining the good and forbidding the evil is an obligation upon every Muslim on this planet. But there is a specific and special methodology that we have to use. And I want all of my students to pay attention, because today I'm going to teach you how to enjoin the good. Before you open your mouth to correct that sister because her hijab is not on correctly, you can't even open your mouth up unless you fulfill a certain criteria first. Because there are many pitfalls when it comes to enjoining good and forbidding evil. And because of those pitfalls, we end up causing more harm than good. So I want everybody to take notes today, especially my regular students, because a lot of y'all ask me, how can I explain to this sister that she's not dressed properly? You don't explain it at all. You ain't qualified to explain it. If you don't meet the criteria, you ain't qualified. So you go to the next level. When there's levels. If you can't do this level, go to the next. If you can't do that level, go to the next. Most of us ain't qualified because we can't even get to step one. So let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen. And I want everybody, the parents, to take PowerPoint, screenshots of my PowerPoint so you can share it with the kids and also keep it for yourself to review, because you will be at the mosque again and you're going to see some sister dressed improperly, or you're going to be sitting up in somebody's stream listening to Islam and you think that you can now correct somebody. Well, before you do that, there's a criteria to follow. And if you don't meet the criteria, you shut up and keep it moving. So let's put that PowerPoint up. I'm going to start with the Zoom. Yeah, this is important. Yeah, the brother typed here. Yeah, this is what he's doing. Yeah, this is what you brothers have been asking me about. This is what you rigid brothers have been waiting for. And I did this to Zoom, but wait a minute, I did that to Zoom and messed up for myself. Hold on, guys. I forgot I'm working this stream program differently. Okay, I do this for Zoom. And then I go here. Yeah, this is what you brothers have been waiting for. I'm getting ready to go over the steps now, inshallah. You're welcome. The brother said, thank you, Sister Laila. I've been waiting on this. I know you brothers have. So hold on. Okay. Okay, everybody should be able to see my screen. I'll give it a second. I know there's some lag.
We can see it.
Oh. Hold on for a second. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I'm just now starting right now.
Oh, okay.
I'll call you right back. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Remind me to call Dr. Jamali, Fame, AY, somebody. Remind me to call him after the class. Okay, so here we go, guys. This is what you brothers were waiting for. Okay, how do we go about enjoining the good? How do we go about forbidding the evil? What is the procedure? How do I go about correcting another Muslim? If I see another Muslim doing something wrong, how do I approach them? Or if I see a Muslim doing something good, how do I approach them? That's what I'm going to cover today. So I want you guys to take screenshots. Okay, first of all, in order to approach anyone about what you think they're doing bad or what you think they're doing as good, you have to know what the good and the evil are. The Arabic word maruf. The Arabic word maruf. That means what's good, what's right. The Arabic word munkar. The Arabic word munkar. That refers to what's bad, what's wrong. And this is the problem. We don't even make it to step one. This is the first thing. Most Muslims today don't know the lawful and the unlawful. Back in the time of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mu'ad ibn Jabal, I did his mother's story. Mu'ad ibn Jabal, okay? The Prophet said, of all my companions, no one is more knowledgeable of the lawful and the unlawful better than he is. So that's why the Prophet appointed Mu'ad to be the first messenger that he sent to convey or teach the religion of Islam to a people. He sent him to the people of Yemen to teach them about the religion. He said, why? Because nobody knows the lawful and unlawful better. And when it comes to enjoining the good, when it comes to forbidding the evil, you have to know that. Muslims today, you sisters don't even know what a menses is. Most of you women listening to me are praying on your periods. And this is the curse of Allah for doing that. Most of you women don't know that you can't pray until you stop bleeding. You think that your period is determined by days, and that's not Islam. That's some man's opinion. That is not what the Prophet taught us. So if you don't even know what a menses is, and don't even know how to behave on your menses, what makes you think that you can approach another woman and tell her that her makeup is haram? You don't even know what the lawful and the unlawful is. That's the problem. You brothers, you're quick to say what a woman can't do and what a woman can do. when most of you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing as a man. So this is the problem. Before you approach another Muslim, you have to be like Mu'adh ibn Jabal. You have to be like Abu Musa Ash'ari. These are the two that the Prophet first sent out as ambassadors of Islam because they understood the lawful and unlawful. He didn't send Bilal. He could have sent Bilal as an ambassador to teach the religion. He could have sent Ali as an ambassador. He could have sent Abu Bakr. But no, he said, I'm sending Mu'adh because no one, not even Abu Bakr, knows the lawful and unlawful better than him. And I'm sending Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. So that should tell you something. Everybody's not qualified. And since everybody's not qualified, you might fall in that category. So you got to know what you're talking about first. If you ain't qualified to tell nobody what's right and what's wrong, shut up. Because they'll probably eat you up. If you come to me, Laila Nasheeba, and tell me that I'm going to hell because I got on makeup or fingernail polish, I'm going to drop you. I just might drop you. Seriously, the way we women go through PMS, the way we women menopause, the way I feel right about now, I'm telling y'all, I've been having it rough the past 2 weeks. You know, PMS. If somebody coming to me and tell me I'm going to hell because I got on makeup, I don't care if you King Tut, I will probably drop you in 5 seconds because that's just how I feel right now. So, a lesson to be learned. You got to know what the lawful and the unlawful is. You got to know what the right and the wrong is before you approach anyone. That's number one. And number two, if a person is doing wrong, who is the person responsible for carrying out the punishment? Is it you? Well, let's take a look. The person responsible for carrying out the punishments prescribed by Allah on a person that transgresses the laws of Allah are only those people of authority. Only those people of authority. And who are the people of authority? The scholars of Islam. The scholars from each group, or the scholars from each nation, and their leaders and their elders. They are the ones, to stand over the general population and enjoin the good and forbid the evil. So, living in America, the person who is responsible for assuring that his community of Muslims are enjoining the good and forbidding the evil is the imam of your masjid. I want you brothers to write it down. The imam, he's the person of authority in the mosque. He's supposed to be. I know living in America now, because everybody's trying to get funded by the kafir, because you got the Mutazilai out there. The Mutazilai telling you that Fi Sabilillah is not a mosque and not a school because they're ignorant. So now that's forced a lot of these mosques to go get funding from the government. And when you get funding from the government, you got to go by the kafir's rules, which are having an executive board and making a charter. And your charter has to not be in conflict with the American Constitution and all of that. So that's why a lot of these mosques in America are run by executive boards, because they had to get funding from them. The price we pay. Well, if you are in a community that's governed by an executive board, then it's their responsibility. That's why you have to be careful. putting yourself in positions of power, positions of leadership. Because if you are on the board of that community and there's a lot of munkar going on, which is evil, and the maruf is not being conducted, you're held accountable for that. You're the ones that's supposed to speak out. If there's women coming to your mosque who are not dressed properly, it's the job of the imam or his executive board to address this. Y'all understand that? And to correct it. That's why when one of the sisters in my Zoom room came to me the other day, she said, Sister Laila, how do I approach a woman at the mosque? She doesn't dress right. I told her, you don't approach her at all. Go tell it to the imam. That's the imam's job. Because number one, you ain't qualified to approach her. She ain't gonna listen to you anyway, because you just a woman. Women don't listen to other women, especially women that they don't know, that they don't think is of any stature. So it ain't your job to approach her. You got a problem with her, take it to your imam. That's his job. So we have to understand the procedure. Does everybody understand? We have to understand the procedure. And then a lot of people say, well, what is the lawful? What is good? Everything that's maruf or good is everything that Allah enjoined upon us. The prayers, fasting, giving in charity, everything that Allah commanded us to do is part of the good. Wearing hijab, covering your body, growing your beard, being clean, being beautiful in your character, being beautiful in your appearance. This is all part of the good, because everything that Allah made lawful is good and clean. It also includes having allegiance. That's where al-wala comes in. Allegiance to Allah. Showing allegiance to the Prophet in this religion. That's the good. We don't celebrate Mother's Day. We don't celebrate Father's Day. It ain't got nothing to do with worship, but it has everything to do with my allegiance. My allegiance is to the religion of Islam, and that is not from the religion of Islam. Islam doesn't teach that. Islam teaches that every day is Mother's Day. Every day is Father's Day. So we don't need one day out the year. So the good is having allegiance to the religion of Islam, to the Allah, to the Prophet, and the believers. The good also includes fearing Allah's punishment. It also includes showing patience with his qadr, his decree, understanding that Allah is in control of everything, not man. The good is obeying him and obeying the Prophet. So all the obligations, all the suggestions, all of that allegiance, the things we're supposed to have allegiance for and to, that's all part of the good. And that's the job of your imam. That's the job of your executive board, to ensure that their community is adhering to that. Everyone in the community. As for the bad or the evil, the bad is everything that Allah made unlawful. That's why I tell y'all all the time, be careful using the word haram. Do not use the word haram. Do not say something is haram unless there's a clear verse from the Quran or a clear hadith that says the thing is haram. Because the bad, the munkar, is everything that Allah and his prophet said is haram. If you say something is haram and Allah didn't, you lying on him. If you come to me and tell me that it's haram for me to wear makeup, you ain't got no verse to prove it. You're a liar. You lying on Allah. You're going to tell me that makeup breaks my prayer? Who said that? You ain't got no clear verse from Allah, nothing from the Prophet, nothing from the companions even that say that. So get out of my face. You're lying on Allah. You're lying on the prophet. The bad is everything that Allah and his prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam have made for haram. That includes murder, the 10 commandments. Everything in those 10 commandments, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit sodomy, thou shalt not kill. All of that stuff is the bad. Gambling, smoking cigarettes, doing drugs, selling drugs, breaking family ties, being mean to your neighbors, disrespecting your parents. Any type of transgression against the rights of others, that's all included in what's bad. The munkar is everything that Allah made haram, and everything that Allah made haram is bad and dirty. Wearing dreadlocks, that's part of the munkar. Wearing dreadlocks is part of the munkar. Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us don't walk around with our hair twisted in knots like the jinn. That's how the jinn wear. They don't comb their hair. Okay? It also includes innovation. All actions of innovation, celebrating birthdays. A lot of y'all still do that too. Y'all don't, I know that y'all are arrogant. We're in the days of arrogance. A lot of you Muslims, the more I talk about birthdays, tomorrow I'm going to wake up, turn on a Facebook, and I'm going to see half of my students happy birthday and people. Y'all going to answer to Allah for that. You ain't hurting later. All you doing is making me mention it more. And the more I mention it, the more the angels are writing it down against you. And you going to burn, baby, burn. Disco fever for that stuff. So you ain't hurting me. You know, innovation, like celebrating birthdays, celebrating Mother's Day, celebrating Father's Day, introducing actions of worship which Allah and his prophet did not introduce. All of that is munkar. Okay? So, the first step is, first of all, knowing what the lawful and the unlawful is before you correct anybody. Number two, you have to remember that the duty of correction in the community falls on the leaders of the community, the imam, that board, not you. So if you see a sister doing something that you think is haram, you go and talk about it with the imam. Because maybe what she doing ain't haram and he can check you instead. And thirdly, before you enjoin the good, you have to also meet a certain criteria in your character. Number one, you have to be a person who is friendly and a person who can empathize. Unfortunately, most of us Muslims today, we're friendly, but we don't empathize. What does it mean to empathize? Empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy means to feel sorry for somebody. Islam doesn't teach us to feel sorry for people because Allah teaches us that Allah will never change the condition of a person until that person takes the steps to change the condition of himself. So we don't go around feeling sorry for anybody, but we do empathize. Empathy means to put yourself in the shoes of that person. And imagine how you would want to be treated. Okay? So before you approach anyone, you have to be a person who is friendly and you have to have empathy. That's why Allah says, let your enjoining of good be good. And do not allow your forbidding of bad be bad. What does that mean? If I am going to approach this sister and tell her that she's dressed incorrectly, I'm going to approach her in a nice way, a friendly way, a polite way, the way I would want someone to approach me. And remember, I'm not going to tell her in a bad way. I'm going to tell her in a nice way that what she's doing is not correct. So you have to have the right personality. If you don't have the right personality, then you don't fit the bill. Then you can't do it. You can't enjoy the good because you'll probably cause more harm than good. The second criteria is before you approach that person, you have to weigh the pros and cons. In other words, if I say something to her about how she's dressed, is this going to cause her to rebel because she's new to Islam? The faith is not even in her heart yet. Are there more pros than there are cons in me approaching her? If the cons outweigh the pros, then you don't do nothing. You move to the next level. Y'all understand that? So there's a sister that just converted to Islam. She's new. She comes to the mosque. She dressed improperly. I asked myself, would this be a good time to approach her? I noticed that she's timid. She's very shy. She's very uneasy. Maybe if I approached her, it could scare her. It might push her out the door. So I'm going to wait. I'm not going to say anything to her. I'll wait a while to get to know her better. I'm going to wait and befriend her first and take her out to lunch or something. Get more personal with her and get more acquainted with her. And until that happens, I'm going to make dua. You move to the next level, which is making dua. Instead of saying anything to her, I'm just going to make dua for her. Whenever the harm outweighs the good, then we are no longer obligated to approach that person on that level. Instead, we move to the next level. And this is what you brothers need to understand, because you brothers become like Carterites. Y'all become like Carterites. You don't weigh the pros. You don't weigh the cons. You just call a person a kafir. Either they change or they a kafir or you kill them. You know, that's the Carterites. Okay? So there's a certain methodology that we have to follow. And you guys know what the methodology is. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you can change it physically, do that. If you can't change it physically, then verbally. And if you can't do it that way, then simply make dua. It's when we don't do anything at all. Do you guys understand that? So if approaching this sister, she's new, she's timid, she feels alone. When I look at it that way, I'm going to be like, no, I'm not going to say nothing to her. I'm going to wait to get to know her better, but I will make dua for her. I'll ask Allah to guide her to the true understanding as to how to dress properly. And that's based on the hadith here, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you live to see something wrong being committed, try to change it with your hand. If you can't with your hand, then with your tongue. And if you can't with your tongue, then with your heart. And we do it with our heart by making dua. Does everyone understand that? This is what we need to do. Most of us need to move to the third level and just pray for the people. Because most of us don't have the knowledge of the lawful and the unlawful, number one. Most of us do not have no empathy. And most of us are not kind. And most of us don't consider the reality that saying something in this day and age can cause more harm than good. You know, so for most of us, it's best to just make dua. Take it to the imam. If it bothers you so much how that sister's dressed, go tell the imam and let him handle it. And you make dua for her and keep it moving. It's when we do nothing that we fall in the category of the living dead. We have the hadith whereas one of the companions asked Ibn Masud, oh, Ibn Masud, who are the living dead? He said, these are the people who don't try to change it any type of way. Instead, they do nothing at all and just concern themselves with themselves. But as long as you move to one of those levels, that's doing something. Does everybody understand that? Listen to this hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, test or trials are shown to the heart like a straw mat, straw by straw. Whichever heart accepts the trials and absorbs them will get a black spot placed on it. And whichever heart rejects them will get a white clear spot. And this will continue until your heart becomes one of two types. Either it's a heart that's white and smooth and clear like a polished stone, which will not be harmed by further trials or tests, or it'll become a dark and blemished heart that will neither acknowledge what is right nor reject what is wrong. Okay, so, we have to understand the people are different. We're all in different levels of our knowledge, different levels in our practice. Some of us do have the ability because some of us do know the lawful. It ain't that many of us that do, but a few of us do. But unfortunately, most of us don't know what we're talking about. Most of you women, like I said, don't even know what a menses is. Y'all praying on your periods. Most of you women don't know the fiqh of dress. Y'all think makeup is haram. Y'all think fingernail polish is haram. When ain't none of that stuff haram. So ain't none of you qualified. You'll come upon the wrong person, like Laila Nasheeba, who's going through a PMS moment. You'll come up to me and say, hey, your fingernail polish is haram. Your prayers ain't accepted. And next thing you know, I done dropped you on the ground and you picking your teeth up. So y'all got to be careful. These are the days in which we live in. A lot of Muslims ain't got the patience for that crap no more. I know I don't. I'm a woman. We women, we have our ups and downs. I'm going through a down. Anybody come to me with some negativity, I'm dropping you. It's just that simple. I'm sorry, guys. Laila tired. Come to me with some negativity, I'm dropping you on your face. It's just that simple. So beware. And there's people out there worse than me. They'll take out something else and hurt you with it. So be careful. All right. So when it comes to enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, there's many pitfalls. And because of these pitfalls, there are two groups that have emerged. I want y'all to tell me which group you fall in. Don't tell me, but ask yourself, which one of these groups are you in? The first group does not even attempt to enjoin the good or forbid the evil. They sit around saying, well, all I care about is myself. All I got to do is save my soul from the hellfire. They use this verse of the Quran where Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning, oh, you who believe, yourselves are your responsibility. Those who go astray will not harm you long as you stick to the truth. There's a lot of people that believe this means only concern myself with me. It ain't my job to tell her that she dressed wrong. And I ain't got to make dua for her. I ain't got to do nothing. I could care less about her. How many of you know people with that attitude? Well, Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, he had to deal with a lot of Kharijites. And by the way, this is the Kharijite way of thinking. There were a lot of Kharijites during his caliphate. And he heard the people saying this, all I care about is myself. And Abu Bakr gave a khutbah about it one day. He said, oh people, some of you, when you read this verse of the Quran, you apply it where it doesn't belong. He said, let me correct you on the meaning of it. He said, I heard the prophet say, when the people see a wrongdoer and don't try to seize him by the hand, then that's when Allah will send his punishment on everybody. Hello. So because of the Kharijites, that's why half the world is being afflicted with earthquakes. Half the world is afflicted with all kind of natural disasters like floods, earthquakes, lightning striking down on them, tornadoes. Why? Because they're not trying to change the evil. They're not speaking out against it. They're doing nothing. They're like the walking dead. All they're concerned with is themselves. Are you that group? And then there's the second group. This group, in my opinion, is worse than the first. This group wants to enjoin the good. This group wants to forbid the evil, but they don't know the religion. They're ignorant. They have no idea of what they're talking about. They don't know the lawful. They don't know the unlawful. They don't know the rules of marriage. They don't know nothing about menses. They don't know how to dress, how to eat, nor do they have patience, nor do they have any type of charisma or anything else. So what they do is they end up causing more harm than good. They end up creating fitna. I want y'all to pay attention to this hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke to the people one day. He said, rather enjoin upon one another what is right and forbid what is wrong. Do it. Because if you don't, you will see obedience to greediness, and you will find the people following their desires. You will find the people preoccupied with the life of this world and fascinated with their own opinion. Their own opinion. When he's talking about their own opinion, what they think is lawful, what they think is unlawful. And when you see a situation over which you have no power, then you say, well, I'm only going to concern myself with myself. He said, these are the days of patience, the days that lack patience. So you don't want to be of this group. These are the Mu'tazila. These are the people who are the extreme left. They got something to say about everything, and they don't know what they're talking about. You're going to tell me it's haram to wear makeup. You're going to tell me that I'm going to hell because I'm teaching Islam on the internet. You're going to tell me that I'm going to hell because I'm obeying my Lord and I got a loud voice. You're going to tell me that this is haram. I can't eat the meat of the people of the book. These people end up causing more harm than good. This group, they believe that they are obeying Allah, but in reality, they are transgressors of all his boundaries. These are the Mu'tazila that we see today. And also the Kharijites fall in this too. Also the Shiite. The Shiite, they think that they're enjoining the good, but they're deviant, they're ignorant, they're misguided too. And we wonder why Allah has sent the war against Islam. We wonder why the war is happening right now in different parts of the world, not just Gaza. It's happening in Africa too. It's going to be here in America. We wonder why Allah has sent this war to us. Because either we in this group or we in the other group when it comes to our enjoining of the good. So this is why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, let me talk about this. This is for the brothers here. Nowadays, because of what's going on in Gaza, You hear a lot of the Muslim brothers attacking the rulers of the countries. They're attacking the king of Saudi Arabia. They're attacking all the rulers in the Gulf. You know, they may be bad people. I'm not saying it. I'm not defending these people. But listen to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. He said, when you live to see injustice on the part of the rulers of the Muslims, we still don't fight against them as long as they maintain the prayer. The king of Saudi Arabia does a lot of crazy stuff. We all know. But you still see him praying on TV too, don't he? Listen to what the prophet said. Give them what is due to them and ask Allah for what is due to you. What does that mean? That means that we don't pick up arms and go and fight against the king of Saudi. We don't pick up our arms and fight against the rulers of the Emirates. We don't pick up our arms and fight against the ruler of Kuwait. We don't pick up our arms and fight against the ruler of Egypt. The prophet said, give them what is due to them and pray, ask Allah for what's due to you, as long as they maintain the prayer. And this is what all the companions agreed upon. They did not go around preaching for us to rebel against our rulers. In fact, they said, stay away from fighting against them. Stay away from all of that nonsense. We got some crazy Muslims today who are trying to get the people to pick up their arms and fight against their rulers. That's not Islam, as long as they're praying. The Mu'tazili, they view fighting the imams as one of the principles of their religion. A lot of these brothers that got these YouTube channels, especially these brothers in the United Kingdom and in Europe that y'all listen to, and some of them in Australia, they're telling y'all to fight against these leaders. These are Mu'tazili, because the Mu'tazili are really into that. They make the basis of their religion 5 principles: Tawheed and divine justice. Even though Allah has forbidden us to do warfare against the rulers of the Muslims, as long as they are maintaining that prayer. I don't care how much alcohol the king of Saudi Arabia drinks. I don't care how much fornication they do. They maintain that prayer. We follow what the prophet said. Does everybody understand that? And here's the hadith. It's Sahih Muslim. And I put that there for you brothers who are so rigid, who belong to the Mu'tazili, who are trying to encourage people to raise up and rebel against their leaders. That's not Islam. That's not the Islam that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with. That's not the understanding that the companions had